So, a reasonable question to ask is, beyond authenticity, why play with the original copy and not just emulate it? And a large part of that is actually this crazy-ass trident of a controller. The stick on an N64 controller is very unique, unlike pretty much any other controller. It actually has a fair bit of pushback. Like, if I'm just gently pushing, like, let's look at this controller, right? I'm just going to gently push the stick forward, back. Yeah, I can just gently push it. With an N64 controller, not so. I can gently push it, sure, but that is not going to get it all the way. If I want to get all the way, I have to really put force behind it. And the reason for that is it actually adds a fair bit of accuracy. Because, like, if you want to go at full speed, you have to push all the way through. So if you're like aiming, you're not going to be aiming at full speed all the way unless you really push it. You can see here, the problem with that is this stick has gotten very wobbly over time, which is why I'm replacing it. N64 games were made with this specific stick in mind, which is why when you emulate a lot of N64 games, especially Mario 64, it feels super hard to control precisely, because you're supposed to have more precision over the joystick, and this stick here actually offers more precision than most modern controllers do. And the reason for that is, like, it's more comfortable to not have to put force behind it to push it, but it leads to a less accurate experience. This is a part of why emulating N64 games you don't get the whole experience, and you have to be very careful when replacing the stick about which one you get to replace it, because a lot of them replace it with more modern joysticks like these. But that takes away the entire purpose of it, which is that it needs to actually take force to push it. As well as, it's very rare to find any controller with a layout similar to this, with the A, B here, and the C stick. It's hard to hold it in one hand. So yeah, it's very hard to find something like this, because every other controller, generally, instead of C buttons, you'll have a second stick, which feels really awkward for using items, because, you have to press it right to pull out a Deku stick, and then press it right again to swing it. Or you'd have to assign these buttons to the C buttons, or the D-pad to the C buttons, both of which still feel weird, and then you'd still need to assign something to B and A. This is why even the GameCube version, I feel, is kind of awkward to play, because it doesn't have the same layout. I also finally learned that you're supposed to hold it by the middle, and then either one of these based on what you're trying to do. So, like, if you need the D-pad, you hold it like this. If you need the other parts, you use it like this. That's why the D-pad is basically used for nothing in Ocarina of Time. And this way you always have access to the Z button. So yeah, that's why I'm actually replacing the stick, because this thing is a wobbly piece of shit from overuse. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.